What's good, friendlies and non-friendlies? How's everybody doing? Welcome back to the open beta series, where to this video is going to be focused around Chun Li and just game mechanics in general. So in this game, the perfect parry is the closest thing you get to the third strike parry, right? It slows down, pauses the screen, you get the blue splashes and whatnot. The only con to perfect parrying is that it deducts your damage by 50%. Now this perfect parry is very difficult to do because it requires you to land it within 2 frames of activation. But it is safe because you can just hold back the block and just hold down the parry button and just be safe. So there's a trade-off regarding that. So we can go to a scenario like this, for instance. So perfect parry is pretty cool, and it does have use. It's just about finding the place to use it in, and I do have a point I want to make about the usage of perfect parry. Outside of just going for damage, like so. It's a pretty cool combo, right? It's a pretty cool situation right there. I want to watch that shit back one more time. Let's watch it back. And I also want you throughout the whole process of this, I want you to notice one thing. I want you to notice one thing throughout the process of these. Look at the drive bar. So going for a super after a, I'm learning on the fly as well. Going for super after a perfect parry does not have any real effect on the drive gauge, at least so it seems to me. And we're going to skip ahead in videos real quick. Let me look at the timing real quick because I wrote it down. Poke 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So which brings me to a point about why I think Street Fighter 6 is going to be so well received. If you look at a situation like this, okay, that right here, oops, sorry. I want you to think about this scenario right here. Chun Li just put herself into a vulnerable position. It's a very telegraphed move, right? So we have, as the player, a multitude of options to beat out this move that Chun Li just threw out. Would you do in this situation? Would you drive impact it? It would probably work. Drive impact would probably work, and you'll get a full punish off of it with unskilled damage. Would you just guard it? And if the move is unsafe, you get whatever you can get off of that move. Will you try to parry it? And will you try to regular parry it or perfect parry it? Would you just try to play it safe? Regular parry does have instances where it is better than block, where it prevents you from being pushed back so far, and in these scenarios you can get better punishes by doing a regular parry instead of blocking. One scenario is throwing air legs with Chun Li, which you can make light air legs safe, and that could be a very intimidating or a very pressuring tactic that Chun Li has in her toolkit. And the only way to this you can make it punishable is by parrying it, and that way it prevents the pushback, and then you could potentially get a punish off of it, a jab punish, you know. So would you try to regular parry it? Would you try to block it? Would you try to drive impact it? Would you try to just super and beat it out? Will you challenge it with a jab? Or will you go for the perfect parry? All of these options I just listed will likely work against Chun Li airborne during her whatever that move's called right now, right? What I chose to do is to go for a perfect parry. I went for a perfect parry. I landed the perfect parry. And because I landed the perfect parry, now my damage is scaled 50% on the punish. But because I have the perfect parry, I'm able to go into a wider range of moves, in terms of weight of my moves and my buttons. Now, what's the purpose of that? If I get 50% scaled damage, what's the point of going for higher levels of moves? Well, here's where the game plan of Street Fighter 6 becomes more interesting, because you have a life gauge and then you have a drive gauge. And what I'm going to do as a player, my goal is to try to target your drive gauge, because I believe that is where the sauce of this game exists, and I believe that is where Street Fighter 6 is going to be narrowed down to for a lot of characters. So I labbed up Chun Li and found out the best, at least as of right now, that I've discovered. The best way to damage their drive gauge is to go for a perfect parry and get the punish counter property, and then I'll proceed with this. As you see, she just lost 3 bars of her drive gauge just because of a perfect parry. Nearly 3 whole bars, right? Am I counting that wrong? Am I counting it wrong? Let's watch it one more time. Okay. Okay, she's got a quarter of a bar. 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's about two bars and 50% of another bar, right? 2.5 bars of your drive gauge. That's pretty big. That's pretty big. You know, whereas going for a straight super would only deal 2 bars. A level 3 super only deals 2 bars. For Chun Li, I think it's just down heavy punch goes into the double strike into drive impact. The down heavy punch for Chun Li deals more drive gauge damage than a drive impact. Look how much drive gauge that one button did. And then the drive impact is going to just do 1 bar. It always does 1 bar whenever it connects. You know, so that is the strat right there. All right, so that is the one layer of this game, Street Fighter 6, that I think is going to be more and more looked at, is how can we damage the drive gauge in the most efficient way possible. And I believe every character has a different way to go about it. Usually with heavy attack is going to be the solution for this, but I think it's going to be a very diverse amount of options that you can get from it. And here's why I say the drive gauge is so important, because in my personal belief, the core of this game is going to boil down to how can we get them into the burnout state. And then once they get into burnout state, that is when the game is going to really shift into something completely more old school in the terms of brutal, in the terms of just fucked up situations where each character becomes insanely overwhelming for a spurt of time, and you just get into the real sauce of the characters, this and that, lock down the opponents in guard stun and block stun and stuff like that. And that is where the sauce of this game, I believe, is going to boil down to, is every character is going to be playing for burnout, and then once they get their opponent into burnout, then they're going to go into their their repertoire and try to maintain them in burnout for as long as possible, get as much damage as possible from burnout, keep them locked down, prevent them from being able to play. Jamie has like a block stun thing that he could do. Guile has one. Chun Li, I'm working on one for hers, but I haven't quite, I haven't had enough time to find, all of it just yet. I believe it's going to boil down into how can we deal drive gauge damage, and from the drive gauge damage is going to come the actual damage, right? So that's just one outlook that I have going into this, and my approach to Chun Li right now is I'm looking for good combinations that I can pull off. I'm looking for that. I'm looking for the best least amount of scaling possible that I can get, but also whenever I can take away their drive gauge whenever possible, I'm looking to target that as much as I can, and that way when I get them into a burnout state, I can apply some really interesting things like air legs, for example, which is, if you do it right, it's safe. And since they are no longer allowed to parry, air legs from the right distance to the floor, it becomes quite a opposing thing to have to deal with, combined with EX legs, which is safe, which I found out later. So it's just a lot of different things that we as a player have the ability to look at now. Perfect Parry. Now, Perfect Parry by itself is not it's not something you really want to do if you can help not doing it, right? Because otherwise you're just showing off, right? There's no real reason to try to go for a full parry on a super. As of in this version of the game that we have, there's no real reason to go for it because you're not rewarded for doing it. You're actually penalized for doing it, both in your damage getting nerfed, but also you don't gain meter for doing it. You lose meter. As in this example, look at my drive gauge at the top. So even with the Perfect Parry, able to deal 40% of their life bar, it's more like 41%, but it's only with the critical art, critical art level 3. With the regular level 3, it does about 35% of their life bar. But yeah, without that, it's like closer to 60% of their life bar if you land it, if you just do a combo without the Perfect Parry. And which is like, why would you do that? Why would you go for 40%, 35 to 40% instead of 60%, But it is cool and it is a stylish way to go about it. One thing I did notice about doing this, it doesn't seem like the game is like really intended for you to do this. It actually, there's moments where the game there's so many particles on the screen and the game doesn't know what to do with itself. I ran into it where the screen started to gray out in the middle of my parry attempt, and the game started to lag a bit, in the middle of the parry, and it threw off my timing a bit, right? It's like the frames dropped they started to vary very significantly enough to just be jarring. And so I don't think that the game is really intended for you to even attempt something like this. So those are the parry attempts. And let's look at this parry punish one more time. Just looks cool. Yeah, I like that one. Drive reversal and counting the drive reversal with a parry, which is, there's no reason to do this. I was just messing around with the mechanics during these first few videos. This one, okay, this one is the stance. Chun Li has a stance. I don't know what it's called. I think it's called Serenity Stream or something like that, where you enter it by doing fireball backwards punch. Any punch button will do, and you can cancel into it from certain normal attacks. An interesting thing that I didn't realize until playing Chun, later on as I was playing against the computer and really trying to feel Chun out, is that you can block out of her stance, but you can't parry out of her stance. It's worth keeping in mind. So as you see, during that green bar, the 23 frames of recovery right there, during that period, as long as you're holding back, you can guard throughout all of that. But you can't parry until after those 23 frames recover. That's where the purple bar kicks in, right? So that's just to give you a little sewing about that. What's this video? This video is the one that we just showed with this is me versus the computer. Okay. Alright, and I will say that it is helpful having the frame data bar to be able to stay there while you're practicing and even fighting against an active opponent. This is going to be the most labbed Street Fighter game, the most accessibly and learnt Street Fighter game ever made. Potentially fighting game ever made. It just has so much readily available for you to dig into, right? It's going to be nuts how many good players are going to be birthed from this game and how many more players are going to get into fighting games more competitively because of things like this. So my advice for new players, if you want to learn how to get better at fighting games, my advice for new players would be, I'll keep it going in the background and I'll lower the volume. If you want to get better at fighting games, I would suggest that you pick a character that you like and go to practice mode with them. And the first thing I would do, this is how I learned how to play fighting games. Pick a character I like, and then I go to practice mode and I just press buttons and get a feel for what that character is like. Get a feel for all of their buttons. After I get a feel for their buttons and I kind of just, I get a general sense for what they can do, then I try to go and I do let me get like a 2-hit combo. Let me get a 2 to 3 hit combo, or do a combo that does like 15 to 20% damage, right? Just simple stuff, right? Nothing too drastic, nothing too intimidating. Just try to get a natural feel for it, a chaotic feel for it. After that, I do more fundamental things. I go and I test all of their normals. I go put the computer on block, have the computer on block, and I test to see which of my normals are the fastest, which are the ones that come out the quickest. In this case, they're going to be jabs, right? So you find out your quickest normal attacks. Once you find those quickest normal attacks, keep that ingrained in your memory bank, at all times. The next thing I want to do is I find out which of my quickest normals reach the furthest. So I find that out and I put that in the memory bank. Okay, I got my quick normals and I got my quickest and longest reaching normals. Those are going to be very pivotal for me. After that, I find out which of my normals are the ones that recover the safest, and I combine all these things, which is the fastest that recover the safest, which are the furthest reaching that recover the safest. And these are the essentials to learn what you can and cannot put out in the neutral, or just toss out there like that. Because a lot of people will just toss out moves that just aren't safe and they don't know or realize what that even means. and they'll get lit up and they'll say, oh, I was blocking that. And they don't realize that you can't block it because you weren't able to block it. So you need to find out what your moves are before you even get started. You need to go through this process, right? Find out your quickest moves to throw out. Find out your moves that reach the furthest, and then find out your moves that recover the safest. How do you find moves that recover the safest? Put the opponent on block, and then have them retaliate against you with a jab or you know, something that's capable of punishing, right? It's up to you to find what works. You know, it's up to you to find. If you want to get better, you're going to have to find ways to get better, right? Or you could do it in the reverse. You could have, as I do it, as I'm doing right now, I got Chun versus Chun in practice mode. Every time I learn a character, I do a mirror match. And so that way I can take in all the information that I can. And so I'm also testing myself against the dummy, and then the dummy is also testing me, and I'm learning from the dummy and I'm learning from myself at the same time. You know, so it allows you to double your learning ability, your capabilities. So, you know, you're going to have to want to get better in the first place. You're going to have to want to get better. And once you want to get better, you know the basics that you need to get better. All you need now is just the mindset. The 4 core things that you need to start getting better as a fighting game player. Get adjusted to the movement and the moves of your characters. Get adjusted to the walk speed, the dash speed, the jumping. Get used to just what it's like to just pressing buttons with your character. So what all of your buttons do, your action buttons. You know, then get a sense for what it's like to do a basic combo. And what you're doing is you're building a tolerance for, oh, this is something that I could fall back on, you know, just in case. And then you take your next step as you learn which moves are the most valuable for you, which are quickest, which are the longest reaching, which are the safest. And then you build upon that when I can and cannot take my turns. When should I just hold back the block? When should I, you know, toss out something that isn't safe? When should I be looking to toss something like that out? When should I be going for this and that? You're going to have to build off of it from the starting basics for your character. Everybody has to go through it. Every single person goes through this. So to toss in, to jump in and just go straight to combo practice, that's not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it because you're not going to get to those combos without learning how to proceed through the introductory phase. You know, you can't jump over a fence. If it's an entire fortress, you got to get through first, right? You got to learn how to infiltrate. And really, that's all that you need for your building blocks. Once you have that in mind, you can build your own imagination, your own idea for what the characters should play like. And it should spiral from there. So any and everybody trying to get better at a fighting game from a beginning standpoint, I'd advise you just to take your time first. Know that nobody hops right in and gets insanely great at playing the character. You know, nobody just hops in and instantly knows what they should and shouldn't be doing unless they've played it before in some form or sense. Build muscle memory, build some tolerance for it, and at your worst, your most vulnerable, your most panicky button mashing moments, you'll have instincts to fall back on that you know are reliable. And it's just practice, repetition from that point on, and building upon that repetition, building upon your foundation of the basics, building upon, you're building upon character, right? And that's another thing I would say is just sticking to a character, but everybody's different. You know, everybody practices and learns in their own way. For me personally, I stick with one character. And I learned them to the best of my ability. And from that one character, I learned how to play against other characters. All right, but that's just how I go about it. I learn in different ways. Some people learn by playing against other people. I learned by playing against myself. Right, so that would be just my little tidbit of how to improve as a fighting game player for any fighting game out there. So, this is footage of me, like just my very first time playing Chun Li, right? This is my very first like time. Right, so I basically still am relying on third strike for the most part. And it was around the 13-minute mark that I realized, because throughout this whole process, I'm like, what are my good pokes? What are things that I could throw out there to reach through their defense? That I can use, that I can cross that red line between us. You know. So I'm on the defensive throughout most of the part of this. And it wasn't until around this mark that I started to realize, oh, there's that forward medium punch, medium punch. That's what she's doing to me. That looks like it's pretty good. You know, and then I start tossing that out there as well, you know. So now I'm actively learning the basics in the middle of play. Medium punch, forward medium punch. I'm still getting lit up. But there we go, you know, and then I got a nice punish going. Let's see, it says 41. I don't know what's at that 41 mark. We'll just go there. Let's see what's over there. Thank goodness I left the timestamps. 40. Let's just watch it build up from here. Right. So I'm not really using stances at this point. I'm not really going into any of Chun Li's new kits. I'm still just trying to build a foundation for myself. Right, I'm throwing out the poke, the medium punk. I'm tossing that out there now. I'm like, okay, that's a good tool right there. And one thing I did realize for Chun Li is that as far as dealing damage, I feel like her level 2 super. Oh baby. Oh, that was nice. That was nice. We gotta rewind that. Remind me what I was talking about before. We gotta rewind that. What was I talking about before? Alright, I think that's like the only thing left in this video. Oh yeah, I was gonna say like her level 2 super, right? I feel like her level 2 super isn't really all that. I was worried that it wasn't gonna be all that great because it just didn't seem like it did that much damage, right? Compared to other characters. I don't know, maybe it's a placebo effect, but I don't feel like it does all that much damage for 2 bars. There we go. So this is her level 2. What time is this at? 12 minutes. So her level 2 super is more than just a tool that you use for damage and juggle properties. Her level 2 super is going to be a super that gets tossed out just raw. And that's because it has invulnerability. If you look at the top bar of the frame data, you see that right bar that says 10, it has 10 frames of invulnerability. 10 frames of strike and projectile invulnerability. And it crosses the screen. So I went from thinking like, oh, this super is not really worth it, You know, it's not really worth the 2 bars to realizing, oh, it does have utility. She does have something for her. She's got a fully invincible super that crosses the screen. So you could use it in some tight situations to really get out of dodge, and like that's pretty sick. That's pretty tight, you know. That's pretty tight because I realized that Ken doesn't have a level 2 super that's invulnerable. Not every character has that, at least from the beta. But yeah, that was something cool that I noticed. Cool combo. So yeah, I went from thinking, man, her level 2 kind of sucks, to realizing, oh, that's gonna be pretty tight. That's pretty tight. But I still believe that if you want to go for damage for Chun Li, I feel like it's better to just go for level 1 or level 3. Right? I feel like that's like the most useful thing to do. So this video, scrambling mirror, stands air legs. We'll just watch this. Alright, I'm the blue Chun. How long is it? 30 minutes. Alright, so this video is when I started using air legs somewhere in this video. I might skip towards the end. I'm gonna skip towards like the halfway point. Like right here. Right, 2.5 bar to drive gauge. Chun is so, I think she's pretty good, right? She's pretty. Ooh, combos almost, not quite, not there yet. Not there yet. I feel like Chun is better than some people realize he is. Like, look at that air legs right there. You see that? Light air legs is safe if you do it low enough to the ground, where it hits low to the ground. But instant DI break. Well, it didn't break it, it just punished it. You can combo off of that, by the way. Nice. Jumping medium punch into Kikoshi. Yeah, so I'm slowly putting it together. Throw. I don't think we can get a punish after a perfect parry that low to the ground. Ooh, I still don't know the combo right there. I know the combo now, but I'm talking about in the video. Look at that. Look at how much drive gauge she lost. She lost 4 bars of drive gauge right there. She had full drive gauge. She had full drive gauge. And now she had nearly full drive gauge, right? She was missing like 10% of her first drive gauge. Well, look how much she has now. So this is what I'm saying, where Street Fighter 6 is going to offer you a lot of win conditions, right? You could target their drive gauge, and then you go into the realm of burnout stuff that you're just going to have to hold. You're just going to have to deal with. It's just going to be a nightmare for you until you can recover that gauge, right? And that is going to be one of the win conditions Of course, they could go for the drive impact and go for the stun. That's always going to be a threat, and that's part of the layers of, you know, that's part of the layers of why you want to damage their drive gauge in the first place. The other win condition is just going for damage, just cashing out. But on the risk of cashing out, you're giving them a free burnout opportunity to take advantage of you. So it's damage versus burnout. Fucked up. In burnout, I feel like burnout state, the game becomes a lot closer to the third strike in terms of fucked up. A lot closer to third strike in terms of this is just screwed. You're just gonna have to hold a lot of this. You know, and I think that's exciting. That layer of pardon my French, I don't know any other way to express it. That layer of fucked upness is still present. It's just a win condition. It's a fork in the road that you're going to have to apply a game plan to get to reach. You know. Oh, I dropped the combo. That was a win combo that got dropped. I feel like they wanted to avoid giving players PTSD, so they just like took away all of Chun's good moves from third strike. So her back fierce, it has like no reach. She might as well just be like the double open palm strike. She might as well just be like adjusting part of her outfit, right? It has no reach whatsoever, but it is safe to throw out. Stance. Ooh, wall. That is sick. I wonder if she could have did EX legs and landed into something else. Good combo. You see what I'm talking about? The level 1 super does a lot of healthy enough damage. Down. Stance right there. Stance. Stance on the drive impact. And then I get to throw. Punish counter. Damn. Look at the damage. Ooh. You know what I'm realizing? That's her back fierce, by the way. You know what I'm realizing is that Chun Li. I'm realizing that Chun Li is. She's talky. I'm realizing that Chun Li is talky. She has a stance. She has a serenity stream, whatever. And she's a stance character. Taki's a stance character. You know. That's pretty much where the similarities end. They both kick. Damn. I feel right at home. Oh. I'm sorry for pausing. Right now, this is me, like my first go at playing Chun right now, but I wanted to inform you that it gets so much better later on when I start realizing more of the full potential that Chun Li has. She has so much more in her bag that this is only just touching just the bare minimum of the open surface. Let's go to the end of the video and see what caused me to end the video early. Ooh, let's watch that. Air legs. Air legs is good for the drive impacts, right? Seems to always avoid it somehow. Ooh. Level 1. I finally did the combo. There it goes. Nice crossover. Yeah, that's 35% off of level 1. Level 1 is, you see what I mean? Is no real reason to go for level 2 unless way to go past me. Way to go past me. See, I barely got 31% off of that. Could have got that just by doing the level 1 instead, and I would have saved the bar. Is this the last match? Yeah, I think this is the last match. Poke in the medium. Random super. Chun Li has great confirms. Great confirms. Confirming ability, rather. What's this one about? 10 plus minutes, air legs, neutral, Tenchu. I guess it's saying at 10 minutes plus it gets good. That's all I get from it. I'm getting crazy with the legs now. At least I picked up something off of that. So, legs aren't safe unless you do medium legs from a distance is safe. Heavy legs is safe as well, but it just has a lot of startup. EX legs, on the other hand, is safe no matter what. It's not plus, but it's safe. And that's where the game plan lies for Chun Li. I don't know if this is the video where I just start tossing that out like crazy. Air legs, neutral. I don't know if it is. But I'll gradually start progressing towards that. And I think in the next video, I'm like, okay, well, Chun Li's, he can confirm to off of basically anything. Right, her down light kick can go into a special cancel low, her down light punch, standing lights, forward medium punch, all of her good pokes, everything that she has, she can cancel, special cancel into. And that's what makes Chun Li, you know, that's what makes her a threat to me. And the combo, in the same way that I feel like she was oppressive in Third Strike. I know I compare Third Strike a lot because it's my only reference point. In Third Strike, her Super Art 2 was like their main game plan. Super Art 2 and grabs, right? In this game, Super Art 2 is pretty weak damage-wise, but her game plan is still going to be confirming into kicks. It's just not going to be Super Art 2 this time around. It's just going to be lightning kicks. Lightning kicks, the total amount of lightning kicks that you can get in a match, especially with EX, which is safe, and it's easy to confirm EX into the second whatever you call it. It's so easy to hit confirm that and then get the second layer of the EX kicks that is almost no point not to throw out EX legs. And what that means is anything that you throw out, you can cancel into to EX legs and make it safe. If it hits, you get a lot of damage. If they throw a drive impact, you break the drive impact. Right, but I'm not doing it yet. I think I realized that in the next video. Right, but yeah, that's basically, I feel like, Chun Li's game plan. Throwing out air legs a lot more. Instead of just going for super art 2, her game plan this time around, I feel like it's just lightning legs. Just legs, period. Legs, period. Hit confirm into legs in any way, shape, form that you can. It's safe if you throw out the EX if you're not sure. EX it. If you throw out the heavy, that's also safe. Air legs is also, you know, what's stopping you from doing it? Lightning legs and level 1s. And she gets a lot of damage just off of that alone. And so in that same way where it's like some characters in Third Strike, you pick a super art that just gives you the most amount of meter that you could utilize, like a Lena or a Yang, just so you can use their EX moves. Chun Li feels just like that to me. She feels just like that, right? You don't get to select the super, you just naturally have that at all times. You know, you naturally have that to utilize to your own discretion. I feel like she's that character that you don't really go for her big supers. You use supers for quick damage with level 1s and level 2s if you want to be crafty with it, and level 3s if you have to go ahead kill or a comeback in the works. But overall, you get so much just off of EX legs. And the fact that you could just do a crouching light kick, which is a low, into EX legs. And if you miss it, or say for whatever reason it doesn't connect, it's safe. Yeah, 2 minutes. Get punished. Not get punished, but at least you gotta hit it. Kikoken takes a lot longer to charge than I think it does. That's one thing I will say that I noticed. Oof. Ooh, legs is so sick. Ooh, no. You could have killed. Nice. And that's the end of that video. All right, that was cool. And this video, I don't know what this is. Let's just watch it. Okay, that's just a jab punish counter, jab punish counter combo. %30 off a jab punish. That's not bad, not bad. What video am I on? So I don't go through all these videos. Let's see, I'm on this one right here. Alright, well that's how much I got left to show. So right here. How much is this left? It's 2 hours right here. Oh, like 3 hours. And change. About 4 hours left to go, so we good. We good. We good. Yeah, we good. Ooh, what's this? Is that air confirmers? No, whoop-de-doop. Ooh, whoop-de-doop. So this is not something that's guaranteed or anything. I just feel like this was like some trickery type of stuff that could work. You know, there's some trickery stuff right there. Even if that they don't get hit by the cross up, that overhead kick is plus. So with the emphasis and the addition with drive rush is +4 on top of it already being plus. So yeah. Even if they blocked it, now you're at advantage off of doing that. So I don't know. But yeah, I think I'll end it right here and we'll continue next time with more progression as I learn how to play Chun Li. So I'll bet y'all further ado. May peace be with those. Keep your heads up. Deuces, those both ITOwl. Stay cool and keep your heads up. Deuces.